Happy Wednesday, NuView audience. This is Alex Sylvia, IRA specialist at NuView Trust Company, coming to you today with another weekly Wednesday workshop. Today, we've got a very special guest. We're going to be talking about the hottest leads in today's market and unique marketing techniques. So, especially in today's real estate climate, with interest rates changing, it's arguably still a very hot market. What does sourcing leads look like? Especially if you're new to real estate investing, one of the hardest parts to getting involved is just knowing where to look to make your investments. Now, there could be a lot of different avenues you could take as far as sourcing your leads. And today, our guest speaker is going to be going into a couple of unique niches in the real estate world that could provide you with some really great opportunity. In real estate, oftentimes, money is made when you buy. And when you buy from specific leads, you might be putting yourself as the buyer in a more advantageous position in the long term. So without further ado, I do want to go into a couple different slides. I apologize there, slipped up a little bit. We'll be introducing our guest in just a moment, but like we always do, want to cover some basics about self-directed IRAs and about NuView. So a self-directed IRA in a nutshell is no different than any other IRA. The difference lies in the custodian and what the custodian allows you to invest in. At NuView, our clients are investing in all kinds of different assets, primarily real estate, maybe private lending, but we've got a lot of clients that might be investing in startup companies, private equity, cryptocurrency, precious metals. It's all valid investments for an IRA. The main difference is what the actual custodian will allow you to invest in. The Charles Schwabs and the Fidelities of the world, if you ask them if you could buy a house inside of your IRA, they're going to look at you like you're crazy. So what are the benefits of self-direction? And self-directing a tax-sheltered retirement account or even an HSA or an ESA, number one, it does come with tax savings. You'll always be free and clear of capital gains tax. But one thing and another that comes with a self-directed IRA that doesn't necessarily come with the Charles Schwabs and the Fidelities of the world is the ability to diversify far beyond stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. Outside of that, you can also invest in what you know best. So if you've got a skill set or an interest that you've got currently, maybe stocks and bonds and mutual funds aren't your thing and you just don't understand it. If you understand real estate or you understand lending, a self-directed IRA, HSA, ESA, or even a solo 401k can provide you a tax-sheltered investment vehicle so you can take that skill set or you could take that interest and apply it in something tax-sheltered like one of those accounts we have at NuView. And like I said, I kind of covered, what the different types of plans were, but just to break them down, there's the Roth IRA, traditional IRA, solo 401k, SEP IRA, simple IRA, health savings account, and Coverdell education savings account. So lots of different tax-sheltered buckets of money that you can experience tax-sheltered growth. And when we're talking about compounding interest, it's already a powerful idea, but now consider that you may be able to do those same types of investments, but without having to cut a check to Uncle Sam on a yearly basis, which can really hinder your growth. Like I said, NuView clients, they're really investing in anything under the sun. The IRS, they only tell us what we can't invest in, not what we can. Now, they tell us we can't invest in life insurance contracts and collectibles, but anything else, hypothetically speaking, if you could put a title to it, your IRA could own it. So with real estate, there's obviously a lot of different strategies. Notes, if you want to be the bank with your IRA or other tax-sheltered investment vehicle, private entities, things like LLCs, LPs, startup companies, or even cryptocurrency and precious metals as well. There's a lot out there. And that's why I say, if there's something that you're interested in or have a skill set in already, just know that there might be a way that you could apply it in a tax-sheltered way. Now, as a disclaimer, we share this with every webinar. NuView, we're not tax, legal, or financial advisors. We operate as self-directed IRA custodians, so we don't pitch investments or really tell you what to do with your self-directed account. And that's the beauty of it, is it is self-directed. You can take the reins to your own retirement and guide that account to growth and maybe even cash flowing growth if you get involved in something like real estate. Now, like I mentioned previously, getting started in real estate might seem like it's got a high barrier to entry, and that's not entirely false, but a good place to start is just knowing where the deals are. So now, without further ado, Tangie Cousins, she's a Great friend of mine, at least from the RIAs that I go to on a monthly basis. If you can recall from a couple of weeks ago, we did a webinar on real estate investor associations. One that I go to quite frequently is CFRI right here in Central Florida. It's got a lot of members, a lot of foot traffic on a monthly basis, and they do weekly meetings as well, certain classes on investing techniques in real estate. And this is actually where I met Tangie. So Tangie, if you want to hop on, tell the audience a little bit about what you do specifically and go into your presentation, and I'll hop back on with you at the end.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate you guys having me on the webinar today. It's great to be here, and I hope everybody's having a great day. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Who we are a nationwide lead provider. We provide leads to investors, realtors, attorneys, and just your basic first-time home buyer. We've been in the business since 2004, and since then we've been the internet's #1 destination for the most detailed, timely information. I'm Tangie Cousins. I've been with Foreclosures since they opened the door. Foreclosures Daily opened the door in 2004, and I've been with them ever since. I've helped many investors, realtors, and attorneys grow their business and increase their revenues by teaching people unique different types of leads that we have to offer, as well as the do's and don'ts of marketing and unique marketing techniques. We are going to be doing Q&A at the end of the webinar, so please feel free to send in your questions in your Q&A toolbar during the whole entire presentation. We will be opening it up to Q&A in the end, so don't worry, it's not going to interrupt me. I won't be looking at the questions until the end anyways. My contact information is below on the bottom of the screen. You can reach out to me, Tangie@foreclosuresdaily.com, or you can go to the website and fill out the form. This is how we are different. All of our leads have real estate attached. They're delivered daily, weekly, or monthly, but they're typically going to be weekly. Property appraisers information is on most of the data types that we have. Most companies that we found are typically quarterly. You need to be careful with that. Quarterly companies means older data, and not farming for real estate is extremely important. When you pick a company to do data for you, whether it's us or somebody else, it doesn't matter. Just make sure they're weekly and not quarterly, and that they're farming for physical property. There's nothing worse than having older leads that are not being farmed for real estate. 300 people will file, let's say, probate or divorce in 1 week, and maybe only 15 or so will have property. Nobody wants to market to 300 people if there's only 15 has property. That's 285 pieces of marketing you're going to be wasting. Mail, SMS, skip trace, depending on what state you're in, ringless voicemail if it's legal where you're at. But most of all, mailing and cold calling is the top two. And nobody wants to spend time and money marketing to 300 people who don't have real estate. So that's important and imperative that you understand that we do understand the importance of having fresh data that is farmed for real estate. I'm going to talk about some of the hottest leads there are out there. I'm not going to go into too much of the leads today because we're really here to talk about marketing. Types of leads that we do offer, though, that are really hot right now, especially our probate and pre-probate, but I'm going to go over a few. Probate, pre-probate, inheritance, code violation, eviction, divorce are the top 6 that we like to talk about the most. Those are all available on a weekly basis, and they're all farmed for real estate. When you work these types of leads, you're going to be getting small groups of people. Believe it or not, only 7 to 10% of the people that actually pass away that actually physically own real estate today. Mom loses dad or dad loses mom. They're in the property by themselves. They can't maintain it. What do? They move in with their children or assisted living facility. But one way or the other, they end up liquidating their assets before they even pass. People are getting smarter these days, just like when you use your IRAs and you do things just, very smart for your future. Moms and dads are planning for their future. They're ladybird deeding their houses to the kids. So when they pass, the house is already in the kids' names, but it doesn't affect them while they're still living. They can make full life choices on what happens to their property. They can sell their property. They don't need their kids' permission. They're just ladybird deeding it to them so that when they pass, the house is already in their name. No probate has to be done. Therefore, hence the reason most people that die do not own real estate. So it's very important that you understand it's going to be small groups of people when you work things like probate and pre-probate and stuff like that. But you're going to yield way higher returns, right? And there's reasons why. Well, let's talk about fears though. Fears of working lists that you don't understand. I love this slide. I know it's just one slide that talks about fears because this is the biggest kickback we hear. I don't know how. I've never done it before. I don't know the process. Those are the biggest fears that we hear. And, we teach people that it's okay that you don't know how. It's okay that you've never done it. And it's okay that you know the process. It's not really your job to know their process on how to go through a probate or a divorce or a foreclosure. That's kind of their job, right? Your job is to need to know how to buy a property. So if you can buy a property, you can work any list in the whole world. It doesn't matter whether it's foreclosure, divorce, probate, code violation, or what the situation is. Let's think about this for a second. If I'm your neighbor and I have an extra property that I may not want, you're not going to be like, all right, Tangie, I've known you for like 10 years, but I'm going to go get $5,000 of training to learn how to go through the probate process before I come ask you if I can buy your property. No, you don't want to do that. You're going to come outside because you've known me for 10 years and say, hey, so I hear you have an extra property. Are y'all thinking about selling? But now you pick me up and put me across town and make me somebody else's neighbor. Now you're scared to death to market to me. Oh my God, I can't market to her. She's in probate and it's a scary thing, right? So people's mind, it stops you from making the moves that you need to make today to be successful in your future and to have that no job, right? So, I mean, don't worry about the list that you're actually working. It's a human being who has a property that may want to sell. That's somebody's neighbor, somebody's mom, somebody's dad, somebody's sister, brother, whatever. You just need to know how to do your job. If you can do your job, which is marketing to them, answering the phone, running comps, visiting the property, estimating rehab costs, and putting an offer in and writing a contract. If you can do those things, you can market to any list in the whole world. Remember, it's just a human being who has a property they may want to sell. Probates, guys, by far are some of the best leads you'll ever get. The probate is a legal process wherein the estate of a decedent is administered. When a person dies, his or her estate must go through probate court. And I hate to break it to you, but I don't care if you have 10 wills, you're going through probate. Your loved ones behind are going to have to go through probate. The whole point of the probate is to administer the will and make sure what happens is supposed to happen that you left in your will, right? But a lot of people think when they have a will, oh, it's my daughter's going to get the property or my son's going to get the property. I've got a will. No, not true at all. In fact, that could be the farthest thing from the truth. All that does is put down what they want on the will. The children still have to go through the whole probate process to make sure that happens. Okay. So like I said, ladybird deed, quick deed claim, there's so many things, trust that you can do to put the properties in your children's names so that when you pass, it's already there. Okay. So big mistake when people think they have a will, they don't have to go through probate. It's not true. Everybody has to go through probate unless you inherit the property via a trust or you do some sort of a deed transfer or ladybird deed. Anyway, it's a process which has to be overseen by the court. And a lot of people have such a misconception. They think you have to go through the whole probate process before you can sell the property. And that's not true. You can actually, especially in Florida, sell the property almost right away. In fact, there's an attorney that we deal with here. His name is Al, and he actually is closing people's probates as early as 5 to 14 days, sometimes a month, 2 months, but it's the quickest I've ever seen any attorney ever close probates. But he taught us, and so did the author of the book, that you don't have to go through probates to sell the actual property. And in most cases, you can sell right away. So that being said, making probates by far some of the best leads nationwide you'll ever get. They have the most equity. They typically don't mind taking a discount. They're extremely motivated to sell. When people lose their parents, guys, they're not usually children. They're usually 50 and 60 years old. They're usually established in their own life. They typically have their own property. So they usually don't want mom and dad's property, right? When you're 50 and 60, you usually have your own dream home, right? You typically want your parents' home. You have your own property. So you either want to have it for just an extra property to vacation in, or you want to sell it or whatever, but you end up not wanting the property for your actual own home. So most of the time you're going to want to sell the property, right? So because they don't have any skin in the game, they didn't buy the property, they typically don't mind taking really deep discounts to get rid of it and get the situation handled quickly, right? So all probate timelines are different, but it's a good thing you don't have to wait for it to finish to buy the property in most states. Now, pre-probate. What is a pre-probate? A pre-probate is a person who dies. We verify that they own real estate attached, and we give the lead to you 1 week later. The benefit of using a pre-probate is not only are you first at the door, but if they inherit the property via a trust, you could buy now, no lines, no waiting. So that's the benefit of using a pre-probate. So it would be very beneficial to work both lists because it's called striking the iron while it's hot, right? And you absolutely want to be first, but guess what? It's just as important to be last as it is first. And we're going to talk about that in marketing in just a bit. So pre-probate and probate A lot of people wonder, well, if I work the pre-probate, do I really even have to work the probate? Because what's in pre-probate, isn't it eventually going to end up in probate? Yes and no. If they inherit the property via a trust, they don't have to go through the probate, right? So they're never going to end up on the probate list. But for the ones that don't inherit the property via trust, they do have to go through probate, and they're going to hit the probate court. But at a time when you're probably done marketing to them anyway on the pre-probate list, and it kind of strikes up a whole new campaign for you to market to them all over again, hence striking the iron while it's hot. So it's very beneficial to work both probate and pre-probate. A pre-probate just has the death information, right? The decedent's name, the decedent's address, mailing address, some property appraiser's data. Now, a probate may have more information than just that. They may have PR. PR stands for personal representative. That's the person who's in charge of the estate, right? It's their job to liquidate the assets and settle the estate. And 9 times out of 10, they're the person that has to take care of everything. And they're the person checking the mail, mowing the grass, so on and so forth. So hopefully the probate has that information. And if they don't, it's not a big deal. You're just going to treat it like a pre-probate and market to the decedent's address. And is typically where everything is being handled anyway. So, I mean, probate and pre-probates are very lucrative. Absentee owners are good too. When you deal with absentee owners, you're dealing with non-owner occupied. It's typically non-owner occupied unless you are in Florida, and then you're dealing with more like a snowbird situation. The benefit of working on a non-owner occupied list is if you are in Florida or somewhere else where they have 2 properties in different states, that usually means we like to call them snowbirds. It means they're going back and forth. Eventually one of them is going to get sick. They're not going to be able to travel back and forth anymore. Mom's going to want to move down here. Dad's going to want to stay up there, but they're going to pick a place to live. And if something happens to them, they usually want to, be home and pass with their family. So, but typically they're not going to be traveling back and forth anymore. And this becomes a property that people usually end up wanting to sell one of the other. So non-owner occupieds are also very good on the absentee owner list. We also have an inheritance, right? So like, what would be the difference of buying an inherited lead? If you're getting a pre-probate and the people inherit the property via a trust are going to be on there too. Well, the inherited list also includes things like family deed transfers, a property that was transferred from one family member to the other in the amount of $0. So those will be on your inherited list too, as family deed transfers. So it's also beneficial to have an inherited list. You want to work all 3. Divorce, they're really good. It's for a person who files for a divorce. It's a legal dissolution of their marriage. And we make sure that they have real estate attached, and we're literally giving the lead to you like 1 week later. It's very beneficial to working the divorce leads. These people have filed for divorce just literally a week ago. So sometimes they're still living together, still trying to figure things out, and they just filed for a divorce. Well, now they have this house that they're both fighting over, and it could be a year or 2 long fight. But if you scoop up in there a week later and be like, look, I can buy this property and get it out from both of you right now and give y'all some resolution so that you can handle this, amicably, So, a lot of times they'll want to go ahead and sell their property pretty quickly. List pendants are real good too. We didn't hit that big foreclosure boom like we all thought we were going to. When COVID happened, we were down for like 2 years, not our site. I'm saying like the whole world, everything was just down. The courthouses were shut down for so many months. And then when they did go back online, it was online only, not in person. So a lot of things came crawling back, and we just felt, oh, we're just going to have this huge foreclosure boom. And, it just didn't happen when the moratorium was lifted. In fact, there's barely anything trickling out. They are coming back, and the climb is rising. The numbers are going up every day. List pendants was something that was always told by investors, brand new investors, go after the list pendants. And so everybody and their brother was going after pre-foreclosures, and everything just kind of stopped. So, the foreclosures are really good to go after as well. They're not going to be as good as the probate, pre-probate, and things like that. Code violation, like evictions, those are really good. Even with the moratorium, everybody thought that evictions stopped. Because they placed those laws down where you couldn't technically evict a homeowner. Well, you could actually. If you read the laws, evictions were happening the whole entire time. There was just certain laws. You couldn't evict somebody for non-payment, but you could, but they'd have to prove hardship due to COVID. And then you couldn't. The competition is a little bit heavier, so they're not going to be as good as probates, stuff like that. Evictions are good. But like I said, a lot of people felt their evictions stopped, but they actually didn't stop. There was just laws of certain things that you couldn't do, but even hardship then had to be proved. So a lot of people were still being evicted during COVID, but also a lot of people weren't. So evictions are really good because a lot of investors did stop working that for quite some time. And, now they're coming back into the market. So evictions also a really hot list to work. And then you also have things like code violations. When you're dealing with code violations, you're dealing with things like overgrown trash, overgrown grass, overgrown trash and debris. They're being violated because they're not maintaining their property. So code violations are typically good too for you to invest into and get you a lot of equity. A lot of people aren't maintaining those houses and they're facing foreclosure soon, and you're kind of catching them beforehand when they're getting violated. So that's usually what happens before people go into foreclosures. The grass starts growing tall, the trash and debris is overflowing. People don't care about their properties anymore, so they're starting to not really pay attention to them. So if you're an investor, a realtor, an attorney, a mortgage broker, here's many ways where our leads can help you. Like when you're an investor, obviously this is going to help you get properties for wholesale pricing. If you're a realtor, this is going to help you gain listings for the investors and your personal investing as well. Even the attorneys have very great success with our list. You can work things like pre-probates where they don't even have an attorney yet and help be the acting attorney on the case if I have any attorneys on the call. And then of course, if you're a mortgage broker, you can get refinances and loan modifications, and it also can help you with your personal investing. But we even help a lot of first-time home buyers as well. So let's talk about marketing. I want you to take a picture of this slide. This is a really important slide. Excuse me, guys, I need to get a drink of water. So this slide is important. This is talking about mailing, and I'm going to talk about what list should you mail for 3 months, 6 months, whatever, how long you're thinking about mailing for. But I want to go over this timeline with you. And I did these slides in October, so don't think you have to wait till October to start your mailing. I actually had several people ask me that, hey, it's April. Do I wait till October to start my marketing? No, it's just when I did these slides. So I use those dates as my baseline here. So if you can only do a 3-step mailing campaign, and a lot of times I'll hear people say, oh, I can't do a 6-step or a 4-step or a 3, I can only do a 3-step. I don't have the marketing budget, and marketing budget's huge, So if you can only afford a 3-step mailing campaign, what you want to do is try to stretch it out as long as you can. Because as I was saying previously, being last is just as important as being first. And you really want to try to do like a 6 or a 7-step mailing campaign is like prime, right? When you're marketing to these leads. And you want to look at things that are going through processes and market to them during those processes. So if you can only afford to do a 3-step mailing campaign, you want to do as close together as you possibly can, but stretch it out as long as you can, right? So how do you do that? If it's October, you'd mail October and November, you would skip December and mail January. Well, now you're stretching your 3-step mailing campaign out into 4 months. And if it's a 4-step mailing campaign that you can afford, then you want to do it close together. Like I said, October, November, December, skip January, mail February. You've now turned your 4-step mailing campaign into 5 months. The same thing with the 5-step mailing campaign. October, November, December, January, you skip February and you mail March. You're now turning a 5-step mailing campaign and stretching that out into 6 months. Now, obviously the prime, the good gold, the best thing to do here is to mail every single month for 6 months straight. That way you can hit them during the whole entire process. And that's every single month for 6 months straight, once a month. So, that is the best way to do that. Consistency and patience is key in marketing. The early bird gets the worm, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. You want to be first, but you also want to be last, and you want to be hitting them really hard in between. Kind of like I always tell people, kind of like Morgan and Morgan. If you're in Florida or Georgia or anywhere in the South, everybody knows Morgan and Morgan because they do a really good job marketing, and you want to do that too. You want to be in their face, on their billboards, in their mail, on the billboards. Like Morgan and Morgan has a big billboard up there. Obviously you don't do billboard, you're going to do like the signs that you put up, but you want to be like in their mailbox, in their email. You want to be on their voicemail, on their phone, on their text messages. You want to go after these people with a vengeance because they're going to sell this property eventually, and most of them are, and you want it to be you that they remember when they're ready to sell. Okay, so you want to be first, but you also want to be last. Now, these are some of the types of leads that you're going to market to for 6 months straight, because you don't necessarily want to market to an absentee owner for 6 months straight. My parents were absentee owners. They had a house in New York and they have a house here in Florida. So just because they own 2 properties and only one of those properties are their homesteaded property, does that mean that they deserve to be marketed to every 2 weeks or every month for the next 6 months just because they own 2 properties? Well, absolutely not. I mean, they may not be facing any sort of distress, right? They just happen to own 2 properties, which a lot of people do these days. So you look at the situation of an absentee owner and you say, well, do I really want to market these people every month for 6 months? Well, no, but the absentee owner list could be good next year too, and the year after and the year after, because they may stay in their homes and 5 years later be ready to sell, and you hit that list again and bam, it's still good. But these are some of the types of leads you want to market to for 6 months straight, are things like probates, pre-probates, divorce, inheritance, list pendants, and code violations. Anybody that's going through a process, you want to try to market to them for that process they're going through. A probate, the typical average probate takes 2 to 4 months, sometimes 6. But like I said, you don't have to wait for that to finish before you can take ownership of the property. But the homeowner doesn't know that, right? So you want to be marketing to them during that whole entire process, because some people in their mentality, when they get a property, they're thinking, oh God, I can't sell this for 6 months. I need to change the wallpaper out. I need to fix the flooring. There's holes in the walls, there's holes behind every door where the stoppers are. I need to change out the whole horse and buggy wallpaper. Like, they think all these things. I've got to have 6 yard sales and 2 furniture pickups. Like, I can't sell this house. And then they get your marketing that's like, hey, you can. So, I mean, you just look at the process of the lead that you're working, and that's how long you decide how long you want to market to them. Is what process are they going to? How long does it typically take? That's how long you want to market to them. Now, here's some unique marketing techniques that you can use. Some of these are going to be really basic, things that you've been hearing for many, many years, and it's not going to sound very exciting, but I got some good ones in the end that hopefully will help you out. And we've got some stories I can tell you about to help critique your marketing, to really get people to open your mail, especially if you're using like foreclosures or something like that, and you're trying to beat that competition. And how am I going to make them open my piece of mail over the other 250 cents theirs? And there really are a lot of people marketing to foreclosures, but there's not a lot marketing to things like probate, pre-probate, inheritance, code violation, eviction, divorce. The word probate and death scares people. By the way, everybody's dying to get on that list. I'm sorry, it's a little bit of humor there, guys. Sorry about that. Bad joke. So those things like that are more unique. So a lot of people are scared because they don't really know what to do with a probate, and the thought of death scares them. So they don't want to talk to people that just lost a loved one like a week ago. So a lot of people don't touch certain lists like that because they're scared, but we know that scared money don't make money, right? So that's where you're going to come in and scoop up all that low hanging fruit of these things that are not being touched the way that they should be, so the probate world is not being overworked like let's say the foreclosure world today, So using unique marketing techniques on foreclosures will definitely help get your mail open too. Different size, different shaped envelopes, such as wedding invitations, birthday cards, yellow letters really work these days. I know we've been talking about yellow letters for a really long time. They are proven, tested, tried to work, and they work very, very well in today's market still. They've never lost their sauce, if you will. Handwritten envelopes work really good, especially with probates and stuff and letters, special markings and certain statements on your envelopes. Like I always tell people, I'm like, if you take your envelope and you flip it over and you write the word cash involved on the back, everybody's going to open your envelope. You'll be lucky if it even makes it to the property, right? I mean, if you put the word cash involved in the back of the envelope, like nobody's going to throw that away, right? Anybody with any sense, they're always going to open that to see if there's any money in there, And if it makes you feel bad, you can put a penny in there, But usually when you say cash involved, you're offering the cash offer for the property. So that's kind of cash involved, right? And like I said, if you feel real bad, stick a penny in there. And you can use symbols like dollar symbols and the word involved. That helps get your mail open. Another thing you can do is I've got one guy, his mom's in an assisted living facility and she's got that real shaky handwriting. He takes his envelopes over there and he buys them, the ladies pizza and soda, and they kind of have like a bingo night, but it's like a marketing night, right? They get together, they have pizza, and he provides them with dinner and drinks, and they sit there and they write out his envelopes for the month for him. And he just has them write them all out for him. It's shaky. Nobody's going to throw that away. I mean, it's wrote by obviously an older person with a shaky handwriting, so they're going to open it. And then I have another guy, him and his wife use school age children. Like they'll have all the kids come over in the neighborhood and have a little pizza party and give them some crayons and say, hey, draw stick people on the back of these envelopes for us. And like nobody's not going to open that, right? Every single person's going to open that because that's unique marketing things that you would never think of doing. It's kind of like that guy that got the job for, I think it was Google. They had thousands and hundreds of thousands of applicants, and he mailed them a shoe and was like, hey, I'm trying to get my foot in the door. He had nowhere near the experiences everybody else had, but he was hired on the spot because of his unique marketing by sending them the shoe saying, hey, I'm trying to get my foot in the door. I mean, creative things like that are going to get you to the seller, to the direct person that you need to talk to, right? And get you to point A to point B. So you want to be different and unique and think of things that are awkward and that people wouldn't actually expect. I've got one guy who puts those little worry dolls in there. They don't weigh a thing. He takes thousands of them and gets them from Amazon for pennies in the dollar. And he sticks them in the envelopes and they're like the size of his fingernail. They barely weigh anything. So he gets like pennies in the dollar and he sticks them in all the envelopes, just enough to where they can feel something in there and open it. So those are other unique things that you can do to get people to open your marketing. Now, I want to look at this marketing and I want you to take a quick look at this. Most people aren't going to be able to read this. You know, if the font is too cursive, the font is absolutely crazy. It's all scrunched in together. It's almost like there's no spaces. It's kind of like when my mom learned to text and she didn't know there was a space bar and we were getting text messages from her for the first time. And my sister and I were like, I called my sister. I'm like, what is this? I can't even read this. This is like all 50 words with no spaces and I don't even know what she's saying. This is what this reminds me of. I actually had a guy reach out to me and say, hey, Tangie, I've got this 4-step mailing campaign I want you to check out and I want you to critique it for me. So I read it and believe it or not, it actually says, Dear Mrs. Story, selling your house has never been easier as discussed. Well, stop right there because as discussed, well, hold on. Did you speak to her? And if you did, why are you sending her a piece of mail? So that's the first thing wrong with this first piece of marketing, right? Is he puts as discussed. I can pay cash for your house and pocket all the money, no realty commission, make for a sweet sale, or you pocket all the money. The second one, Dear Miss Smith, I'm still interested in buying your home. As you know, how does she know? Have you all spoke? And if you spoke, again, why are you sending her mail? I can pay cash, close quickly, and you don't have to pay a real estate commission. Okay. Here's the third one. This really gets to me. Dear Miss Story, quickly selling your house can take away the strain of showing it to a lot of people you don't know. Well, hold on. Does she know you? Because if she knows you, what are you doing mailing her? So, I mean, there's 3 things wrong right there with this guy's marketing, 4 or 5 things wrong, actually, because you count the font, the lettering, the no spacing. I mean, it's just an absolute wreck. If you can't read it, they can't read it. I mean, there's nobody that's going to really be able to read this, honestly. I mean, whether you wear glasses or not wear glasses, it's too much. When you send marketing, you want to send simple, basic marketing. Here's my letter. It's an investor letter. It's user-friendly font. It's print. It's well spaced apart. So no matter how old you are, you're going to be able to read this. And you want to say things like, you know, things that help them. You want to overcome their fears, find solutions, fix their problems. And their problem is, hey, I've got a house with all this stuff in it and I don't know what to do. You know, so what do? You know, you send a letter out. And remember, I said the owner might not know they can sell the house when they're going through probates. It's up to you to notify them and let them know, hey, don't do this, don't sell, don't pick up, don't rehab, don't clean. I can buy now. The reason I'm contacting you is I understand there may be a property for sale. You're not saying there is, you're saying there may be. If there is real estate for sale, I would like to buy your property. I can close fast, cash as is, less than 30 days. Hey, you can even leave the unwanted items in your house. Don't worry about cleaning, picking up, rehabbing, repairing. I'll buy the house as is. So what I've done in this letter is I'm not talking about their unfortunate situation. I didn't start the letter off saying, my deepest condolences. My wife and I are working on a residual income for our retirement property and we want to buy your home. That's terrible. I actually had somebody send me their letter and ask me to critique it for them. And I told them to throw it right away. You never talk about how you're going to gain advantages from their property from a loved one that just died. That's like the worst thing that you can do to somebody when they just lost a loved one. So you never talk about their unfortunate situation. You find solutions, overcome fears, address their concerns, and fix their problems, period. Those are the things that you want to stay away from when you're marketing to people is their situation. Don't talk about, hey, I understand you're facing foreclosure. That's just absolutely awful, horrid marketing. You want to be real simple, basic, generic, right to the point. Talk about the things you can do for them. Make them happy. Think about if your mom just died, what would you want to go to the mailbox and read? You know, that's what you need to look at yourself and be like, what would I want to know? First of all, I don't know how to go through probate. I don't know what I'm doing. So when you want to know, oh, I don't know if you know this or not, but you can actually sell your property during any processes that you may be going through. Are you facing divorce? Are you facing foreclosure? You can do that kind of marketing because you're not pinpointing one thing they're going through. By the way, if you have a property for sale, whether you're facing foreclosure, divorce, probate, whether you're facing code violations, overgrown trash, debris, whatever you're facing, I can help you. If you need an attorney, I can pay your attorney fees. Like, you can do broad generic marketing, versus talking about their unfortunate situation. Now, let's change gears. If you're a realtor, I actually wrote this letter for a realtor. Her name was Peggy. I won't disclose her last name, but I actually did this for her, and she got 5 listings in like 2 weeks. She's like, hi, my name is Peggy. I'm a local realtor with Remax. I would like to help you sell your property on Smith Avenue. If you would like to sell your property or just know the value for free, I can help you. Call me. So she's a realtor. She's offering to sell their property if they want to sell it. And she's offering to let them know the value of their home for free. What do most people want to know when their parents pass? When they're dealing with a property? How much is the house worth? What can I sell it for? How much can I get for it? What am I going to do with it? Those are the things that they want to know. Now, as a realtor, a professional who's been in the business for however long, who went through a lot of training to get their license, who's in the state today that it can tell you the value of their property, what they could probably sell it for, they're going to want to talk to you, and in you being an investor / realtor can kind of flip that coin either way. If you get there and you don't want to buy the property, you can list the property. If you get there and they don't want to list the property, you can help them sell the property to somebody else, or you can buy it yourself. So, and here's a basic generic investor letter. I wrote this for Amanda Young. She's a realtor in Spring Hill. I'm sorry, an investor in Spring Hill. And she ended up getting her first couple of probate properties from me and writing this letter for her. I'm interested in your property on whatever street. Let me know if you're interested in selling, or anybody in your area who may be. You may reach out to me at such and such. She gets a lot of hits from that letter and got her first few probates off of that deal. In the local Tampa area from the RIA meeting that she went to, she ended up winning a free month and got 2 properties from my probate list. Within the first month, she got her first one. So here's a guy who uses a 3-touch campaign. He takes these little index cards from like the dollar store or Walmart, with the one with no lines though. And he writes in handwritten, I'm interested in the property at 1234, whatever street. If you're interested in selling, please give me a call. That's it. That's all he writes on the card. This is his second touch marketing. People always want to know, well, what do I put in my second letter or my second marketing? What do I put in my third marketing or my fourth marketing? Why don't you just start it out saying, hey, I sent you this about a month ago. I expressed interest in buying your property. Are you ready now? Do you still have the property? So you can just send simple, basic marketing. Now, the third touch, he changes it completely to a local investing company in the neighborhood, purchasing properties in a few select areas. So he completely changes gears on his third step marketing campaign. He's getting like 15% response rates from these little teeny cards he's buying and sending out. And they're really cheap to mail too. It's like a mini postcard, And let's talk about exit strategies, guys, because a lot of people have exit strategies today. And the main exit strategy today is wholesaling. What is wholesaling? It's quickly flipping a contract to another investor for quick cash without extending any of your own money. So you're like the middleman, right? That's the biggest exit strategy today. But what we're finding at a lot of the local RIA events, and I'm sure you can agree, Alex, is a lot of people are wholesaling properties and not knowing how to estimate rehab and repair values. And when that happens, they're not doing their job well, and they're deteriorating the relationship with the cash buyers at the events for their properties. So you're not going to have anybody to bring your deals to if you don't know how to effectively estimate proper rehab repair value, so that when you bring your deal to the investor at the meeting and say, hey, I've got a $80,000 property, I'm going to sell it for blah, 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 blah. This is after it needs $20,000 worth of lipstick, and now it's going to be worth 150 when it's all said and done. And then the investor gets it from you. You make 30, 40 grand. He gets it and he finds out it's sitting on a sinkhole, or the roof is caving in and you didn't tell him it needed a new roof, and he bought it sight unseen. Shame on him anyways. But my point being is you really need to know your stuff if you're going to bring deals to these cash buyers at these local markets. Because when you walk into a realtor meeting, or I'm sorry, a real estate meeting, an investor meeting, and there's 40 people in the room, There might be 3 hot cash buyers in your neighborhood that you're going to work with over and over and over and over, bringing your exit strategies to, and they're going to buy your properties. But you go ahead and deteriorate your relationship with one of those people, and you've ruined your chances of selling anything at those meetings with those other investors. Guess who meets at McDonald's every Friday morning for coffee and talks about all of the bad and good deals they've had all week? Is those 3 guys. So you want to have a really good relationship with all of the investors at the local investing agencies, because chances are those are going to be your good cash buyers that you bring your properties to. So another good thing is lease with the option. Many would-be buyers today have very poor credit, guys, but they have a lot of money for down payment. These kids these days are sharp as a tack. Now, they have a lot of money saved. They're banking that money from their parents telling them they're banking and banking and banking and banking, but they have no credit, right? So they can't buy a house, right? So what do? They end up leasing with the option to buy one of your houses that they really don't want to begin with, but they're having to settle for because they don't have the credit to buy the properties that they really want. So what's going to happen is they're going to give you $5,000 or $10,000 down or whatever you take. In 2 or 3 years, they're going to build their credit. They're going to have a car by then, a better car. They're going to have built credit by then. They're going to be able to get afforded to get a loan for a property by then. And what's going to happen is they're going to move out of your home, but who gets to keep the $10,000 they put down? You. And then you get to turn around and do it again and again and again, because most people don't stay in their rental homes, guys. They stay in there for like 2 years, maybe 3 or 4 years, and they're gone. And you just keep to get that residual income coming in every month and getting that new down payment from each of these people. And that's a really good exit strategy besides wholesaling that you can do today. Now, rental, if you buy right over the long term, this is a fantastic cash flow strategy where you can reap the annualized benefits of up to 20% a year or more on these rental properties. So that's also a great exit strategy. Now, I want to talk to you about some postcards that we have here at Foreclosures Daily. And we work very closely with Go Big Printing. Now, these postcards are awesome, guys. A lot of people are talking about these postcards today that you can get from the postcards companies, and they'll sell them to you for like 99 cents for marketing to them. I got this company to do it for like 42 cents with postage, right? Using a special link that I can give you access to. But these postcards are awesome. They've got a picture of their own house on it. Look at this one up to the left. P.S. I saw this on Google. I would think that you'd want to put something like, hey, point to it and be like, is this your house? Are you selling this? ? I'm really interested in this. Or, hey, do you still have this? You know, just sending something like that with like a question. A lot of people want to just call you and be like, hey, how'd you get a picture? Yeah, actually, that is my house now, and I am selling it. So these postcards, you know, the national average response rate to any mail marketing is 0.5 to 1.5%. I literally have people getting 3, 5, 10, and 15% response rates with these types of postcards. So these are really good, catchy postcards. Now, this is a good handwritten letter these people do. It's really good font. It's not in cursive. It's kind of slashy a little bit. I like how they do the letters, and it's really legible. I don't want to blow up on it, but if you look, you can see this with no problems, and it looks like you hand wrote this yourself. They're charging only 64 cents with postage to send marketing like this. So this is good. And the envelope is hand wrote too. They have this machine that does the handwritten font. And most people charge like $1.20 for something like this. This company's doing it for 64 cents with postage. And their minimums are real small too. They lowered their minimums for us to 50 on the postcards, I think. And I think it's 100 or 200 on the letters to get that price. But guys, I'm gonna end this slide with my contact information. I really hope that I gave you some really good information today. And now would be the time to send in any questions if you have any questions for the Q&A. I know I went kind of quick, and we can talk a little bit longer if you want to. I just wanted to make sure that I could get through everything in the timely manner to give us enough time to do Q&A in case we have any questions. But our leads literally are second to none here at Foreclosures Daily. I'm not really here to pitch the leads too much. We're not here to sell leads, guys. I was just here to give you some free content on what's working and what's not working. And like I said, the 6 hottest leads we're offering right now are probate, pre-probate, inheritance, code violation, eviction, divorce. All of those leads are weekly and fresh. They're all farm for real estate. You never get more than like 25 leads a week or so. We have like a minimum they give you on there, smaller groups of people, guys, but you're going to yield way higher returns when you're marketing and targeting leads like that, because you're marketing people who typically want to sell their property versus people who don't. When you get a list of, like, let's say thousands of homeowners and you're just spitting off marketing and throwing things against the wall and just really hoping something sticks, when you work these types of leads, you're narrowing it down and you're targeting it down to the people who usually want to sell their property, who have equity. The parents' properties are the biggest investment they ever made in their whole lives, is their house. Most people aren't investors, most people live week to week on a fixed income. And by the time they get to the age where they're retiring, they're close to paying their house off, or they already have it paid off. So there's huge equities. I literally had a guy call me last week. He's like, Tangie, my VA started calling the probate and pre-probate list, and literally her second phone call landed me a $75,000 assignment fee. A week before, a guy got $100,000. Guys, these are on wholesales, not even on fix and flips. And you could totally fix and flip these, but the spreads on these types of leads are massive. They're huge. When you deal with foreclosures, everybody's upside down. It's funny because our name is Foreclosures Daily. So I'm totally not trying to tell you not to use list pendants. I'm just telling you there are hotter leads out there and less work leads too. And the list pendants are still good in today's market, because like I said, the moratorium was lifted and there's a lot going on right now, but we did not hit this big, massive boom like we all thought. But when you work these types of leads, you're going to be working smaller groups of people, but yielding much higher returns, and finding and fixing and flipping and wholesaling. You can do anything you want with these properties because people are under the assumption, can you actually wholesale a probate property? Well, absolutely. You can do anything in your contract with a contingency of. You don't have to write the contracts as you have them. You can add any contingency you want. And most people know that probate, there has to come a point in time where they're going to have to wait just a little bit. I mean, even if the judge has full authority or partial authority, all they have to do is bring the offer to the judge. And the judge usually wants to know, hey, how much are they selling the property for? Well, what is it worth? Well, why are you selling it for only 80 if it's worth 120? Oh, it needs a new roof. He just signs right off. These people don't want to hang on to these probates and keep them into court for 6 months. They want them to liquidate the assets and get this estate settled as quickly as they possibly can, So do we have any questions out there today? Usually when I see no questions, it usually means I did a really good job teaching and you guys don't have any lingering questions in your head.
I was going to say, you're probably going to go and check your email inbox and it's going to be flooded.
Well, what I really want people to do is go to the website, www.foreclosuresdaily.com. And when they get there, just put the code in TLC 1000 and put down that you heard Tangie Cousins today. And I'll go ahead and make sure we reach back out to you and get a hold of you. And if there's anything we can do for you, I'd be more than happy to help you guys out in any way that we can.
I appreciate that. Yeah. And I really do appreciate the descriptions that you had of all these different types of leads as well, because myself, I learn about real estate through my clients. It's all at this stage in my life, it's all by osmosis. So I'm kind of in those stages myself of trying to figure out, if I'm going to start looking soon, where exactly do I need to look? And just like I said at the, the beginning of the presentation with real estate, it's oftentimes when you buy is when the money is made, and especially when you're talking about distressed situations such as these, it could create a really, beneficial situation to the investor. One thing I want to ask you though is, do you ever follow up with some of your clients on, what they're doing with the leads? Because when I look at distressed leads like this, I almost want to think there could be a community building aspect to it too. If you're looking at leads that it might be a family that's in the foreclosure process or the list pendants, it's like, could there be an opportunity there to, help the family out, maybe keep them in the home? Or what have you seen, from these leads, what people do?
Yeah, we have some great people out there that are doing some home saving activities. They have even their names of their business are home savers. And, they do go in and they restructure the loan for them and they get permission to talk to the bank and they'll do loan modifications and stuff with them to help them do short sales. And they'll switch over, they'll take over the deed, right? And they'll leave the mortgage in the homeowner's name. And then they'll restructure things and help them and say, hey, this is what I can do for you. I'll take care of the mortgage. You just pay me such and such, transfer the deed over to my name. They do takeovers like that too. You can do short sales too. You can work on those.
Mhm.
And as I was talking about foreclosures, and I'm not steering people away from foreclosures, I'm just saying you've got a foreclosure lead, right? And I didn't finish touching on this, and I just remembered I didn't finish explaining this. You've got a foreclosure lead, right? Everybody's upside down. They're all upset. Nobody wants to sell their property. They're losing their home. So saving people's homes is good in a situation like this, because you can actually become a glorified landlord where you have all these deeds, and you're just kind of being like the loan officer, are you taking the payments, you're maintaining everything for them, and you're letting them stay in the home, and you're restructuring it for them, well, now you've got a monopoly full of properties. But, so you've got foreclosures, everybody's upside down, they're all upset, there's no equity, they don't have no way to save their home, they're losing their property, they're all mad, and then you've got probate, tons of equity, they typically want to sell their property, they're usually very motivated, and they didn't buy the property, so they got no skin in the game, so they typically don't mind taking really big discounts either. So they're both good leads. One's just in a way better situation than the other. Even though they're not emotionally, because of their situation, I'm just saying one fits a better situation for investing. That's more lucrative to get those homes, fix them, flip them, wholesaling, whatever. Now, if you want to save homes, you're right. Foreclosures, you got to be really good at doing short sales if you're going to work foreclosures, because every single deal, you're pretty much going to have to work with a loss mitigator at the bank. The loss mitigators are the ones that you're going to be reaching out to see if you negotiate a short sale when the homeowner signs the form for you to be able to talk to the bank. So if you're going to work foreclosures, you need to know how to help them go through the short sale process.
But it's good to know at least what's different amongst each of them, because what it sounds like is each one, kind of does deserve its own due diligence, just like anything else. If it's going to be a different seller in a different situation or in a different emotional state, that could entirely change your approach, your marketing techniques, possibly. And that's what I think is very cool about real estate at the same time, though, is there's so many different ways that you can approach it. So many different mindsets that you can have about what you want to accomplish. And of course, everybody's in it to make money and create an income or build their retirement. But there's that sense of satisfaction with the community building aspect of it too, that you just don't get when you buy Coca-Cola stock, or you just don't get that when you buy Walmart stock. And that's kind of like the key to the self-directed IRAs, I think, is the ability for people to have that local impact and arguably get involved with something that they might already have an interest in as well, which could just be your, run-of-the-mill real estate investors or agents or lenders. They have an opportunity where they can take a skill set they've already got and apply it in something tax sheltered, which is always very cool. And then on top of that, how creative you can get with like the lease options. Like that kind of went over my head. I want to say I understood most of it, but that's a cool idea as well. And I definitely want to dig more into that. And, just in totality, like I said, I appreciate the little descriptions with each throughout the presentation.
Yeah. When you do a lease with an option to buy, you have to put a down payment down. And it's usually a very large down payment, $5,000 or $10,000, sometimes 15, but most of the time it's $5,000 or $10,000 with lease with the option to buy. And they've got like a year, and during that time they're paying on the property, they're leasing it with the option to buy. So most people don't end up staying in the property. Well, you don't give that $10,000 back.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's right in your contract and everything that they get to keep that money. So, and most people aren't going to stay in their rental property. I'm looking for a book. So I'm going to show you guys this book. It's a really cool book that I talk about all the time. And we actually know the author of this book. It's a Probate. Can you see it? Real Estate Sales 101.
Yes. Look at that.
Well, I actually know the author. So we actually mail this book to you, if you were to ever be interested in leads in the future or anything, but you actually do get a book. We pass this out at the meetings. Like we give these away at the meetings in a drawing and stuff that we do. This is a really good lucrative book. And the author and I did a webinar, and you can find it on YouTube. You should really check it out if you guys are interested in probates. His name is Kevin Sales, but if you go to YouTube and type in Foreclosures Daily, you'll see all my past webinars that I did, and you can find the one we did with Kevin Sales. He explains a lot of the process and stuff, and he is in California, so it's a little bit scarier there. It's a lot easier to do foreclosures here in Florida, or probates here in Florida.
Kind of leads me into another question of my own is do you see this being a specific niche that's hotter in one state versus another, different regions, maybe red state versus
Yeah.
blue state, without getting political about it?
Yeah, no, I gotcha. Some states are tougher, right? So like New York, we can't even get a
Mhm.
probate list and we do pre-probates instead, right? But don't discredit that. A
Right,
pre-probate's 1 week after the death. You're being first at the door. So you're
right.
pretty much getting the ones that are going to go into probate anyway. So I mean, even if you can just get pre-probates, who cares? It's a huge, awesome list, one of our top hottest lists. So like New York, some counties and some states are very stringent with their data and they're stingy and they don't allow you to pull as easily as you could in another state. New York's tougher, New Jersey's tougher. We can still get data for pre-probates and stuff there, but it might be harder to pull, let's say, code violations there. Maybe we could pull code violations really easy here in Florida, but they're not that hard. They're not that easy to get in New York. So yeah, there are some data that's harder to get in other states than there is others.
Hmm.
So it's not going to be as user friendly and easy. And a lot of people will try to do their own research, like, oh, I don't need probates. I'm getting my own from the courthouse. So what are you doing with the 300 leads? I'm just mailing them and calling them. So you're mailing all 300? Like you're not physically, to boil it down to the ridiculous. If you pull up Jane Smith, there's going to be 50 Jane Smiths in it, Hillsborough County. And then you have to take the 50 Jane Smiths and find the right Jane Smith out of all 50 Jane Smiths, which one died with real estate. Now, literally, if you have time to do all that research, it's like a full-time job. You know what I mean? For one researcher to even do that county, because there's so many. So I mean, nobody really has time to do all their research. So the benefit, and I teach as a coach to delegate your minimum wage tasks, to other people so that you're not spending your time doing the job that you should be delegating to other people. Most investors out there will spend 5% of their time doing the activities that actually make them money, and the other 95% of their time doing revenue generating activities that they could be delegating out to other people for
I
a
was gonna
small
say,
fee.
or automating too on top of
Yeah.
that.
VA, that's what I'm saying. Delegate those minimum wage tasks. You can have
Yeah.
VAs making your calls. You can have a questionnaire script for her to go through. And you don't actually get the call until you get to the appointment, or whatever. So, I mean, there's so many things that you can do to automate your process. Obviously, Florida, you can't do ringless voicemail, but some other areas you can, and there's also things like the SMS, you can text, you can email, you can do letters. And by reaching out to Go Big Printing, I've got that special link I can give y'all too. But when you reach out to Go Big Printing, they can do like a Print Genie. They have Print Genie, and it's like more like a set it and forget it for your smaller list. It's like you set it up one time and they mail it for you every month for 6 months straight. It's so flipping awesome because now you're delegating those minimum wage duties to other people so that you can spend more of your time investing. So
Got it. Cool. Well, I'm going to be going back over this presentation just because, like I said, I really enjoyed those a couple descriptions of the different types of leads. And I really, really appreciate the presentation today. Audience, if you guys do have questions that might be specific for Tangie, their contact information is on the screen. Presentation is going to be live on our Facebook immediately and then on our YouTube within 24 hours usually. So if you need to go back and grab her contact information, you'll be able to. Tangie, once again, thank you so much. Hope to have you on again sometime soon, maybe a little bit in the future. We can come back and maybe do something a little bit different, or maybe just refresh the audience on the different types of leads that are out there. But thank you. Really appreciate it.
not a problem. Yeah. Thanks for having me. And I hope you guys have an amazing day and weekend.
Yeah, I'll see you at CFRI next week or the week after, something like that.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
See you then. Thanks, Tangie.
Bye.
All right, NuView audience. So we do have, a couple days left in the month of April. So what that means is we are wrapping up our monthly promotion. If you can recall, we want to add some color to your nest egg with alternative investments. So if you open up more than one account before the end of April, we will waive the application fee for both accounts and apply a $50 credit to be used for future fees that are incurred. So make sure that you get that application in by the end of April and use that promo code that is on the screen there, Spring22. That's what will get you this monthly promotion. Now, if you're ready to start self-directing, if you've got questions about the webinar in general, what you can do, what you can't do with the self-directed IRA, 401k, HSA, or ESA, just shoot us an email. We're happy to respond and get you on your track to some tax-sheltered investing in alternative investments. So like I said, emails there, iraspecialist@NuViewTrust.com. You're also more than welcome to give us a call as well. If you do want to call in, I'll give you that number. It is 407-708-1853. Otherwise, if you do want to do your own digging, we do have some educational resources available as well. So if you scan that QR code there, it's going to bring you to our website on our educational resources page. It's got an archive of all the past webinars that we've done. If you go to our YouTube, which will also be linked on the website there, we've actually got everything broken up by playlist as well. So if you're specifically interested in real estate, cryptocurrency, private lending, private equity, there's a playlist for you on our YouTube channel. So you can just have all of the information relevant to you and what your interests are, all packaged in one place. So that's all we got for you today, guys. Next week, we'll be back for another weekly workshop, same time, same place, 1 p.m. EST next week. I want to thank you all for hanging out with us today. Again, thank you to Tangie Cousins for coming on and presenting. I hope you found the information valuable to the audience, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.